today's the modern education and also the modern popular beliefs seems to say that emotions are so important and feelings are very important. And especially when it comes to the self, you cannot violate people's rights. And so, today, mental health is a very big subject. From modern science, from clinical medicine, psychotherapies, there are many methods which help people deal with their mental issues. I see that there is not much inputs from the Buddhists and the Dharma into to combating mental health problems. But when we see it, we see 84,000, the whole 84,000 teaching is just dealing with mental health. That's what I would imagine. And seeing the trend of depression, which is rising, and that could even lead to a lot of suicides in the future. Why? Maybe is it time to take in some of those time-tested wisdom methods, techniques, which Rinpoche mentioned, into the treatment of all this mental health problems, which is already being done by others. But I think should the Dharma also have more inputs and help this collective effort to address this.
We are talking about Jangsa, where we are even saving animals. But when it comes to human being, it's Milu Rinpoche. Milu Rinpoche is something very special, precious. So it's very alarming that now in Bhutan we can see more and more people are killing themselves. So it's very shocking because the last Vajrayana kingdom, this is the Shuding Gyalkhap, the last Vajrayana kingdom. And if you think of the people who are living here, they are all who are practicing, the majority are practicing the Buddha Dharma. And if you think of the ruler also, we have the Chugi Gyabo. So in this land, actually, so this should not happen. And we should really now see to the cause. Why this is happening. And I really feel that now we have to have form groups, and then where they can really focus on people who have potential of killing themselves. So we should really work with the government. Many years back, I mean, it's just when we are quite young, like we used to hear suicide only in India and then in foreign countries. So for us, it was something very strange. And even there's some jokes also. One time, Lama Ninkula told me a joke that one Bhutanese suddenly wanted to kill himself and he wanted to go to the river and jump. Then while going to the river, he had to go walk on where there's a lot of bush, and he got scared that he would be bitten by a snake. So he came back. He cancelled his suicide. So so that's what Lama was telling me. How many people have suicide like we hear, but it seems to be more people who are suiciding actually where we don't know.
So Rinpoche, why would you think like we never heard of suicides like 15 years ago? And why is it happening now? So many, all the suicides we hear about.
I think one thing is that maybe it's the social media. Because of the internet, people know about suicide, and then it's so because it cannot be true that in the past people had no suffering. People had suffering. So it's samsara is full of suffering. So you cannot escape from suffering. Maybe it's because of the internet also that, and that's how people copy. So people like to imitate what other people are doing, and then one thing is the suicide thing is something which it is coming from the Lokta view, or it's a very wrong view, and maybe one of the reason is people are becoming less religious actually. So especially now, in the past, the education in Bhutan was people who were supposed to be officers, educated people were educated in our Dharma thing. But now the education is we have very little Dharma in our education system, and it's the Western style of education. And if people who are educated in Dharma, they know little bit Dharma, actually they wouldn't suicide. Because in the Dharma, when we practice the Dharma, so in Dharma, first we have to first we have to look for a good teacher, and then we have to receive the teaching. So that's called Theva. And then you have to analyze the teaching. So that's called Sampa. And then you have to meditate. If you don't meditate, it's not going to benefit you. So when it comes to meditation, then you have to do the Ngundo practice first. So in the Ngundo practice, then it is brought into two parts. One is the Thunma Ngundo, the common Ngundo practice, and one is uncommon. In the common Ngundo, then there is the Jonya Prakawa. So in the Jonya Prakawa, there we have to meditate. So meditate that how human body is precious. And especially being born as human is extraordinary. And then especially if you're born in this dharmic kingdom, then it's like obtaining wish fulfilling gem. It's like it says that your Milu Rinpoche is like the method Udumwara. So Udumwara flower will only exist when the Buddha is born. There is nothing greater than Milu Rinpoche. It says, it's like greater than being born in the God's realm. The second thing, the suicide thing came out because it comes from other countries, from the Western country, and not from religious mind. This is coming from atheist mind. Because when they think of suicide, they feel people commit suicide and not because of happiness, because of suffering and with depression and all. So when that happens, then they feel that this is some kind of tool to end the suffering. So you are now ready to take the pain for an hour or more than an hour and think that everything is going to end and everything is going to be peace. So this is the wrong view. And why it is wrong is that when you kill, so there is no way of killing yourself peacefully. So you have to face a lot of suffering with that through when you do that action also. And you might attempting to kill yourself, thinking that people don't like you or people hate you, people have not been fair to you. But that is not true also. Why? Because there are many people like your parents, your friends who love you. So after you are dead, then many people will have to live with that. And so if you are dead and everything is just finished, then it brings justification for your suicide. But that's not true. So there is again, you have to wander in the bardo state. So the process of killing yourself itself is a lot of negative mind. It's like a great big turbulence. It comes out from this deluded mind. And then when you kill, and that is also very violent. And then with this kind of your consciousness is also wandering in the bardo. So there's a lot of suffering in the bardo. And it says in the Buddha's teaching that you cannot kill. You cannot kill anyone. You cannot kill yourself also. If you do that, then you have to repeat 500 lifetimes. The karmic consequences that you'll have to face the same thing. It's not right to kill yourself. They should think of other options. If you are abused, then there's always where you can go to renew, you can go to the police, you can go to that everyone is not bad in this world. There will always be someone who will help you. So you just have to open yourself. So we have to first understand this is very totally wrong view. So this comes from totally nihilist view. And so this in Buddhism, it says that there is no greater sin than killing. From the 10 non-virtues, the wrong view is a very heavy negative karma. In the Mahayana, we talk about Buddha nature, that Namo Deshini Buddha. Buddha says that Deshini Buddha. The Buddha nature is with all beings. Even an ant has Buddha nature. Even a dog has Buddha nature. We have Buddha nature. So when we talk about Shi Sangye, Lamge Sangye, Devu Sangye, the Buddha of ground, Buddha of path, Buddha of the fruit. So we are also Buddha actually, but we are the Buddha on Shi Sangye, because our mind is Buddha nature. We have the potential to attain Buddha. And when we practice, then we become the Lamgi Sangye. And then finally, when we attain enlightenment, full enlightenment, then we are called Devu Sangye. So, but we are also Sangye. Sentient Sangye, in the Tantra also it says that all beings are Buddha actually. Then why are we wandering in the samsara? Because of the defilements. And the only thing we have to do is to clear the defilement. It's like the cloud has covered the sun. The sun is always with light. So our mind is always Yesalva. It's always enlightened. And so when we have this potential, and the logic is also that if we don't have the Buddha nature, it's like if there's a coal, if the coal, you have to wash it, you want to make it white, it can never happen. You can use the best soap, but it will always be black. So if our mind is always deluded with all these defilements, then we will never attain enlightenment. So if it is our nature, we can attain enlightenment because our mind, we have the Buddha nature. And then in the Vajrayana it says that only Jalvikigo, our body is the mandala of the Jalvikigo, the Buddha's mandala. So we don't have to look for mandala or Shinkham outside. And our body itself is the pure mandala. All the Buddhas are residing in our body. So that's how, in Vajrayana it talks that you can't harm your body because it's the Jalvikilkor. So if even for unnecessary reason, you even cannot put an injection, you can't pierce, you can't take out blood. So I think because of that, you can't do tattoo actually. If you're a pure Vajrayana practitioner, you cannot hurt your body. You can't take out blood. So then killing is another level. If you think of suicide, it can happen when people have a lot of suffering. Like even like the greatest yogi of Tibet, Jisam Milarepa, also nearly committed suicide. That's what his Namdara says. So he went through very difficult, through his childhood, he had a lot of suffering. And then later he went to see this master, even master in order to purify him. So his master, or somehow he made him very difficult to purify him. It was almost like if we don't understand it, almost sounds like torture. He also thought that he is really someone that worthless. Like he was born with a lot. He grew up with a lot of suffering. Even meeting the Lama, he cannot receive the teaching. So he felt that now and not only that, it was bringing a lot of suffering, not only to him, to his Marpalota's wife and many of his students. So he thought now it's worthless, and then he nearly committed suicide. So that time, Marpalota's student, Ngokten Shukodo, just stopped him, saying that you cannot. Because in the Vajrayana it says that your body is the palace of the Buddhas. So we have to educate them. So like I said, in the past we had education. That education did not lead us to, fly in a plane or go in a train or thing. But at least it brought inner happiness. At least people did not kill themselves. Not killing themselves, they benefit many beings. So now modern education, and if we are not practicing our ancient education dharma, then I think this is going to lead to more and more depression, and then this will finally lead to suicide. And the other thing is that why it now in Bhutan they are very less, and suddenly there's a lot of. So if you have to think the reason, one time I met Lama Kunzang Dorje is a Tongdenpa, as a realized master, the Rinpoche student, my father's Chudo. So Kunzang Dorje was telling me, any people who die because of natural death, get sick, and then with old age they die, or they die in an accident, or they are killed, or they had, or they hang themselves or suicide. So when they die, then it says that the Sokchik day, there's a day which will snatch away your life force thing. And I think in Hinduism also they believe that there is this Sokchik day. And so the Lama was telling me that if there is a place where someone has hanged, actually the rope should not be cut by others. Actually, we are not allowed to touch it, he told me. Actually, there is a special practice ritual from the church actually to do. But unfortunately, now the Laglen practice, or that is no more. But now it has to be police will be there. They have to check. No one is allowed to touch. It has to be post-mortem if it is in India and other countries. So now why? So what happens is when there is one suicide, and then so the Lama was telling me that then the Sochik day will try to possess many other many other people, and especially people when their lungta is not high, they are depressed, they are not practicing Dharma, they are not praying to their own God. And so during this time, then this kind of spirit which has taken life force will enter you, and then for no reason you will feel like killing yourself. So the Lama was saying then this suicide will grow. It's like champa, sadim. When people have sadim, then sadim is contagious. In many cases that we can hear many events, all this kind of happening, and then they say this is not the first time in that building, like many people have committed suicide. And when Lama Shimi told me, then later I experienced myself also. So when I was in Kalimpong and not very far from a monastery, one girl committed suicide, but she didn't die because people saw her, and then they were able to stop her. But then she was brought to my place to do cargo. So and I was doing cargo to her, and during that time she was not in sense. And later she came to sense, and then she was explaining. We asked her what happened actually, and then she said she had a quarrel with her husband, but it's not a bad quarrel, very small thing. So then she was a little bit sad, but nothing happened actually. That was no reason for her to kill. But then she said she didn't know what she did. Then like she was not in control, and then suddenly it's like she was trying to hang herself. That's what she told me. And I think when these are happening, more and more happening, we should think that this is a sign that is a very bad sign. That shows that our compassion is also degenerating, that we are letting many people getting depressed. And a bit so it shouldn't happen in Myanmar more. So look at our people.
Yes.
So I feel that it's a sign. It's a very not good sign. It's a very bad sign that it's a sign that our compassion is degenerating, is deteriorating, it's becoming lesser and lesser. We are also, becoming cold. That we are, letting many children get depressed, and many people commit suicide. So this is a very bad sign in this extraordinary country. So I think we should have form groups, and then like previous I said, collaborating with the government, and then so seeking what is the right. So because we cannot do in our own way, we have to follow the government's rules, and especially the people who are expert in counseling people who are depressed and who have the tendency to commit suicide. So I think we should form groups And then we should teach. Every time I explain to people, being born in this Chuding Gehap itself, it's extraordinary, because we are born in this. We will have devotion to the Kunchasum, to the three jewel. We will have devotion to Guru Rinpoche. So to have devotion is, people might call it just blind faith, but this is also comes from a lot of accumulation of merit. It's not easy to be born in Dharma kingdom. So if you have to have that kind of faith, where you can call it a blind faith or whatever, but to generate that faith, it will take you many lifetimes to be born to this Dharma kingdom. So if you are not born in this Dharma kingdom, you will be born in, even you have the opportunity, the good merit to receive the Dharma, but you might learn the Dharma for many, many years, but sometimes it would be very difficult to have that devotion. So many people, they become scholars, but still again, we are not sure they have the devotion, they really believe. So that's very difficult. So that's why it is very important again to teach, like for the society also, it's very important to teach when they are quite young, that we have to put it in their brain that this is not the option, this is a very wrong view. They should have other options. So if you put this, and whenever they face or difficulty in their life, they will remember this, and they will not commit suicide. They will look for other thing to overcome this. In the Dharma, we say that one of the main problem of suffering is when we don't have the interest on Dharma. So then you feel you don't have the tsundu, you don't have the diligence. So when you don't have diligence, and then you have the lelo. And in the lelo, they talk about one dagni lelo, where you feel that you are worthless, you cannot do. But actually, that is laziness. You are being very lazy. So in that lazy, you have all the excuse to put yourself down, that you are worthless, you cannot do. There is nothing where you cannot achieve. You can do. You have the Buddha nature. And even like the story of Pang Miham Gombo, who was almost 80 years, who attained the rainbow body after meeting Perusana. So even an old man, like his age also, would practice diligently, attain the rainbow body. Like Milarepa killed 35 people, then he attained realization. But people even have, it's very difficult when you don't have the proper wisdom. So when we talk about proper wisdom, we think of the wisdom taught by the Buddha, who attained the full enlightenment. Because it's very difficult to say what is right and wrong. Because from the dualistic mind, we might think this is right, but it might not be it might not be right. Like we might have many, even like people who are dealing with depression and doing counsel, sometimes, or whatever the tools they might be using to benefit them, it might be something which might not, like you said, might be something which might be the right tool. So I think we have to use the proper wisdom, so that from the Buddha we have to, seek his wisdom. And this is what has to be taught in Bhutan. So, and I think that, and then another thing is that to praying to Guru Rinpoche, to the three jewels. So I think that is not difficult. Anyone can do prayer, even in 2 minutes, 3 minutes they can pray. 5 minutes also, it's okay. So, and then especially when they have all this problem, they should think of Guru Rinpoche, and then they will not face like what I explained about the Sochi Ginde. I was looking at Chenju, and then in the Chenju also it talks about different reason why people kill. Then it says that some people will suicide themselves for fame, to bring name, for name's sake, to become famous, that they have done this. So in order to do that, they sacrifice their life. And then sometimes practicing the wrong religion. So some religion will say that you have to sacrifice your body to the deity. And so it's all, that's how, I mean, Shantideva says that there are some groups which will jump in the fire and then do all sorts of things to please the deity. So it doesn't bring them to enlightenment. That's what Shantideva says. And then he says most of the people are because of desire. And then for women, then they will kill themselves because of the bimela. So Tobjeshiri says to have get your loved one, then they even put their life. And then it's because of strong emotion. Some with too much desire, then they suicide. Some too much anger, they kill themselves. Some with ignorance, and then some because of being possessed by the Sochigi day. So there could be many reasons why, I mean, and then of course people, some they kill themselves because they had overdosed because of drug, and then some make because they're sad, too sad.
Yes.
So I think so with all this, we really have to see the root why people commit suicide. And then that all actually, if you bring it together and condense it, it all becomes because of emotion, strong emotion, and then strong or too much desha, too much shedang, too much timuk, too much ngajil, too much tado, and all this. I think it's the right thing. So we need to put antidote in this. How to, I mean, and one is because of depression also leads to suicide. So for depression also we have to think of, because depression also is coming through too much thinking. So in the Dharma they have antidote for all the emotions. Like for anger, then we have to practice the four immeasurable, semishi. And then for ignorance, then to practice the ten Dilchuni, the 12 interdependent links. And for too much thinking, then you have to practice the Lungi Nejur. So that is the Lungi Nejur is the practice or yoga on breath. So the Anapanasati. So you have to practice that. So I think these are the practice, because Buddhism always goes to root where all this comes from. All this problem, all the emotion will come from, all the suffering comes from this kind of emotion. And how to stop that? Then we have to practice. So for desire, craving, we have to practice the Midukpi Dushe, the Midukpi Dushe Gu. So thinking of all the disgusting meditation on that. And then there's all different antidote practice for all these emotions, different emotions. So right now, to relate it to this depression, I think to practice the Lungi Nejur is very good. That way you look at your breath, and then there is like the Dhamma Jedo Jopa. Then there's like 6 stages where you have to practice. And if you do that, then this will prevent you from thinking too much. And even in Shantideva Shenji also says that sometimes when you have strong emotion, just stay like a tree. Don't talk, don't move, don't think. So I think this Shini practice is also very important. And then followed with the Vipassana, then Latong practice.
Yes. So, Rinpoche, you touched upon the methods. It seems like today's generation are very vulnerable in the sense that today's the modern education and also the modern popular beliefs seems to say that emotions are so important and feelings are very important, and especially when it comes to the self, and that and everybody now we have concepts like human rights, and there are so many people are, you cannot violate people's rights, and so some people take their emotions, feelings and all very seriously. This seems to be what's present in today's world. But when it comes to the Buddhism aspect, again, And today, mental health is a very big subject. So even here in Bhutan, Her Majesty Gelsun has taken a personal interest. And for me, as a layperson, what I've noticed is that from modern science, from clinical medicine, psychotherapies, there are many methods which help people deal with their mental issues. But I see that there is not much inputs from the Buddhists and the Dharma into to combating mental health problems. But when we see it, we see 84,000, the whole 84,000 teaching is just dealing with mental health. That's what I would imagine. So, and like Rinpoche said, that now probably our methods have been tested for thousands of years. These have proved undeniable results. And seeing the trend of depression which is rising, and that could even lead to a lot of suicides in the future. Why? Maybe is it time to take in some of those time-tested wisdom methods, techniques, which Rinpoche mentioned, into the treatment of all this mental health problems, which is already being done by others. But I think should the Dharma also have more inputs and help this collective effort to address this?
Your question. First, I think we have to, because we have to admit that this is what to say. We are in a period where it is the Nyingma, the degenerate. So it seems that now it's a time where people are studying Dharma but not meditating. So I think this is one of the big reason actually. So it's not something where you actually can blame the lay people actually. As it is a little bit because of the degenerate time, it is the practitioner, it's the what to say, lamships also thing. Because for me, I cannot judge and say that actually that everyone is not practicing, but it seems that now we are more, what to say, we are more focused on study. Like for myself also, I like to read a lot. So we are more focused on studying. That's how we have now built many shedas. And the datsangs have also many shedas. And when they sheda, it's all about studying, receiving the teaching, hearing, and then analyzing. And the people who are teaching also, like me, they are not that into meditation, not meditation great practitioners. So I feel that we are just trying to learn the word meaning and not putting into action practice. So I think so that our dharma, and then when it comes practical, it's not. I mean, we cannot put the dharma in our reality. So I think that is also. But in the monastery, like I said, though they are just studying, they are not meditating in the shedra when they are still young, but still staying in the monastery, there is a lot of benefit. Like small children's. Nowadays, if you see people, lay people who are, if you look at their children, they don't eat any vegetable also. So they are pampered by the parents that they don't eat vegetable. They don't. So it's. But when the small monks come here, when they join the monastery, then in the monastery has discipline. So they will eat all kind of vegetable, and then even they are not given specific teaching not to kill, so automatically they will not kill. Even the small monks, they will protect, and then they will not kill ants also. So somehow, I mean, the blessing of the three jewel is already there. So, and then just reading the Buddha's teaching, just listening, of course, there's a lot of blessing. They themselves, like in the Buddhist, explains very strongly that you cannot teach people, you cannot benefit others if you have not practice yourself. Like Vijayamela says, Rangjit mathil temba de shenjit dulwa kamorda. A teacher who has not subdued himself will not be able to subdue other beings. Now, to know Buddha's Dharma, it's all in Chökyi also. So people cannot understand Chökyi. And then the school has, the school doesn't have the Chökyi. They have little bit Dzongkha, and then the Chökyi is not taught. And then, so the Chökyi becomes like Sanskrit for Bhutan, other lay people. And then they can never read anything from the Kanjur Tenjur, where there's thousands of volume Buddhist texts. So if you can't read, then you can never practice that. So when you don't practice, you don't have the experience. When you don't have the experience, then you cannot relate that to, then you cannot transform the Dharma in all facts, facts of life. Maybe that is also one of the reasons why they have to bring counselor from other country to correct people who have depression and all these things. So otherwise, there shouldn't be any reason, because Buddhism is even Dalai Lama very, proudly gives talks saying that in outer science, the West has done great. They have advanced a lot. But when it comes to inner science about mind, it's just preliminary stage. He openly says that. And then there is no one who challenges him, saying that that's not true. And first, the monasteries also should really feel that whatever is happening outside is, since we are practicing Mahayana, it is Shingidin Rangidin. It's like to benefit others is benefiting yourself. And then if other people are facing problem, it's your problem. So others' problem is the bodhisattva's problem. So I think we have to, think over, and then if we have the proper wisdom, and I think that will become the very effective rule. And like I said, like we have talked, maybe the other thing which are sometimes maybe temporary only, in the long run, it might not be the antidote. It might be like the fuel, not the, to put off fire, you need water. You can't add on woods. If you keep on adding wood, you might think that it's dying, but later you might have bigger fire. So I think we need the proper wisdom. So that too, which we already have.
So actually, Rinpoche said, clearly stated what could be one of the major reasons why we cannot translate our wisdom methods and traditions and philosophies that have, for thousands of years, even taken people to, it's been tested and it has taken people to enlightenment. So things like emotional management and all, it seems to be almost kindergarten kind of situation. But the fact that Bhutan is a Buddhist country, it was founded on Buddhist principles. We still have the dual system in place where the Dharma is still flourishing. So why haven't does Rinpoche think it's time now to incorporate some of the methods and the wisdom of Buddhism to meet this challenge of mental health?
Yes, I think yes, that's true. I think when now we are facing more challenge, we are having more cases like depression and all this suicide thing, and so I think now it's the time, and it's almost a little bit late, and I think now, like you said, Her Majesty has already establish the hospitals to deal with the mental. So I think it's a great news, and it's a great activity. And then now the Galifa project is Majesty's vision. So I think this will be the main foundation where that Bhutan will, be able to tackle this. And so I think in Bhutan, so being the country of dual system, Chudin Gehab, where we have the dual system, we have the Chugi Gyabo. So when there is Chugi Gyabo, then there is the Chudin Gehab. And when there is the Chudin Gehab, then there will be the Chue. So if there is Chue, then there will be happiness. So only thing is that, so we have to establish more facilities. So we have to have many masters. So of course we have to invite people who are expert in this also, and then we should have our own masters also who are talking, and they should be supported.
So, Rinpoche, when you mentioned about these methods, which you mentioned, the
Lungi Nenjurya, yes.
And
Lung Latin Pinenjur actually says.
yes. So all these kind of methods, which I think I probably am hearing. I mean, most people, even me, even I'm hearing it probably for the first time. But I've been through lots of emotions in my life, lots of periods of depression, all this. If I had these tools, it could have helped me a lot in the past, probably deal better. I don't have to suffer so many unnecessary consequences. And nowadays, the people in schools, especially those who are very vulnerable to depression and all this, could you talk a little bit more on how these tools, how these methods, and also other methods help an individual to deal with their feelings and emotions when they're going through that stage, vulnerable stage?
In Bhutan, so this Lungi Nejur is a practice which is like common with the Theravada and Mahayana. It's common, and even in Vajrayana. But right now what we are practicing in Bhutan is the Vajrayana. We are practicing the Vajrayana, where we have, we practice first the Mondro, and then the Shamatha, all actually are practiced within the Mondro. During when you practice the Lodo Namje and all, so you have practice of Shamatha. It explains in many books that like I explained, that there is different kind of emotions, and then in different emotion, because of different of accumulation of karma, then you have different strong emotion. Some have very strong anger, some have very strong ignorance, some have very strong passion. So, and to overcome that, then the Buddha has taught different practices. So like for too much thinking, so many people get depressed because they are repeating the same thing. They are always thinking the same thing again. That after some time they get depressed. So they are like craving. They are hanging on that. They are so attached to that. So after that they get depressed. Even they get mentally crazy. So in order to stop that, we have to practice this Lungla Tempe Nejuro. And this, it is explained. There's a book called Semjang Rinpoche by Dalij Jalwa Sangwa, one great Indian Mahapandita. So he is teaching a king, actually, giving a king advice. It's a letter to a king. And then in that, he explains this, that how to tackle with a lot of thought. He says that. So he says, and he is explaining that according to Abhidharma Kosh by Vasubandhu.
The other question was, Rinpoche mentioned one method from, I'm probably sure there are hundreds of methods in the Shavaka tradition. Then I'm sure there are so many methods in the Mahayana tradition and also in the Vajrayana tradition. All the way from your smallest mental afflictions all the way to enlightenment. So Rinpoche has given us a glimpse of one practice. So, just to give the general people an idea about some of the effective methods that actually exist in these traditions, but it's just we don't access it, or conditions are such that somehow the people who are suffering don't get to utilize those techniques. So if you could mention like maybe one example from the Mahayana, one method that could help us like this, and also from the Vajrayana, maybe if you could like from what we read in books, we hear about this concept of detong, emptiness and bliss. So there seem to be a lot of practices also which promotes joy and bliss, although that's not the primary aim, but just a byproduct of the practice. So most people also, when they hear certain sections of the teaching, and some people get a little bit turned off when they hear about no desire, no attachment, all this. Then they feel like this practice is not very attractive to me. So, but when you give the whole overview, it seems like you deal with the darkest things, and also it doesn't avoid states of which are preferred as kind of joy, stable joy. So maybe if Rinpoche could give like just like the Sravakayanas gave that method, maybe in the Mahayana and in the Vajrayana, some examples so that people can get curious and maybe they'll explore. And like Rinpoche said, maybe they will request a teacher to give those teachings.
Yes, I mean, actually it is about joy. And then when it comes to Buddhism, when it talks about, of course, without the joy, then there is no benefit in practicing. So it has to be joy, and it has to be joy for Nekabgi Deva and Thardugi Deva. So it has to be for the happiness for this lifetime and the Thardu for ultimate. So if both of them are not existing, then there's no point of practicing. It's just waste of time. So even like to be born into Thori also in the Buddhism will still appreciate that, rejoice. He is doing something, some virtuous thing, even to be born as a god. So because at least that also has to be rejoiced, because he is, I mean, at least not committing some negative karma. But that is not the goal actually for Mahayana. But still we have to appreciate. And since from the Sharvakayana, the teaching is something which is beyond samsara, which will lead beyond samsara. So that's why in the Buddha, all the Buddha's teaching has to be in the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths also Dungi Dempa, Kunjungi Dempa. Then third is Gokpe Dempa. So Gokpa is that where all the suffering is cessation of all suffering, cause of suffering. So that is the Gokpe Dempa. So I think that is also Tengi Deva. That's the Dharma, liberation. So that is Deva. And then, of course, the Mahayana, that will lead you to ultimate enlightenment, the Buddha's enlightenment. When you practice the Mahayana practice, then it says that you will not feel actually depressed. Because then, Sonam Kini Ludela says, because of accumulation merit. So this is the best way. Practical compassion is the biggest cause to accumulate merit. And when you have merit, you don't have Ludeva, you'll have the bliss in the body. And Sonam Kepi in the same time, because you have wisdom, you will not, your mind will not be disturbed because you are doing the right thing. Then it says, Janchu Sim Gita Shine Dene Deor Doala. So Janchu Sim Gita, on riding on the horse of Janchu Sim, you will go from a better place to a better place. Every moment you will be advanced. Simshi Sushigilo. So who are wise will not feel depressed. There's no reason. So it says that. So I think all of practice is to bring happiness. So I think they are all kind of, and of course the inner tantra. Then they have all this salung practice where to generate bliss. So they are all this special practice. So to generate bliss. Actually, if you if you are going, I mean, to look for happiness for your own reason is the reason why you have suffered a lot. So that is the thing where, so if you have thought of all sentient beings, so that has, I mean, brought happiness and liberation, enlightenment. That's what even Shantideva says. Actually, the samsara people, everyone faces suffering, and so it is true that people have to be what to say, take special care. People who are depressed and who have the tendency to commit suicide.
In keeping with the instruction of our masters, let us all, individually and collectively, play our part. As our experts and medical professionals cannot be around us everywhere, it is crucial for each one of us to be aware of the symptoms of depression and mental crisis that an individual may be silently undergoing. Ignorance is not bliss. Awareness can save a life. One can always reach out to the experts and medical professionals from the Pema Center and to our Dharma masters for rehabilitation and healing. Help is all around you. You are not alone. On the part of the individuals, it is very crucial that you open up, reach out, and seek the help that you need and deserve. It is as the great Indian master Tilopa said, if you throw a coiled snake in the air, it will uncoil itself. So you may contact the Pema Center and get all the help you need, or you can contact Jangsa if you just need somebody to talk to and be part of a community that truly cares. We are all in this together.